The Black Fat Femme Podcast is a production of iHeartRadio and Dr. John Paul, LLC. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Black Fat Femme Podcast where all the intersections of identity are celebrated. I am John, also known as Dr. John Paul. And in our 133 episodes, I have never yelled at a girl like this. How dare you, Bojangles? So, story time. Chris, can you go ahead and put some music behind the story time? Use the Moesha music. The
Oh my God. What?
Use the Moesha. So me and friend to the show, Travell, last week, we went to Bojangles. As everybody knows, me and Travell both were perusing around creating change. And so we decided one of the days that we both didn't have nothing to do, we were like, let's go get something to eat. So we went to Bojangles because they just opened it in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Oh.
And for those that don't know, Bojangles is like starting to take over like the West Coast. There's actually so they opened, I think there's one that is finally open in Las Vegas, but they also have another location that they're getting ready to open in Las Vegas. And then from what I understand, and I don't know how real or true this is, but they're saying that I guess like 2 or 3 are supposed to open in LA in the next couple of months. So anyway, we decided to go to the one in Las Vegas, and girl, we got in line. And as me and Travell were looking at the menu, I'm looking for the chicken, right? Like I'm looking for the chicken because I believe their chicken is the best chicken. And you know, they only have the audacity to have tenders. Only chicken tenders. Chris, insert a gasp. Yes.
Wait, hold on. When you say that, you mean like they was out of the chicken?
No,
they don't.
They don't make it. They don't make it, girl. They only make tenders. And I said, not only like not one piece of chicken on the bone, like the way I wanted to. And the gag was the line was hella long. Like the drive-through line was long. The inside line was long. And I wanted to leave. I was like, if I would have known, I wouldn't have been so amped about this. I literally would have went somewhere else. But anyway, you know, first world problems.
Wow.
First world problems. But my God, I definitely, I wanted to put my Karen wig on and say, I want to speak to the manager. But, you know, we were already there. There was nothing we could do about it. So I just wanted to go ahead and just say, like, for my West Coast folks who have never been to Bojangles, please do not let that be a representation of what I believe is the best chicken in the world. If you are from Atlanta, from South Carolina, from North Carolina, any of the Carolinas, any of the South, you know how good Bojangles really is. And it's a shame. It's a shame the way we didn't get to celebrate the chicken the way that we deserve to. But anyway, girl, enough of my ramblings about chicken. How are you?
Ooh, girl, fam, hey, it's your Pacific pal, Joho. And first, I just want to say, I am sorry for your loss. I'm sorry that the West Coast Bojangles did not do you did you dirty, did not do you right. And you know, I wonder if they have it in New Orleans because I'm going to New Orleans in May, and I haven't had Bojangles yet. You talked about it a lot, and now I have to go to an East Coast one because clearly the West Coast one is not giving what's supposed to be giving. So I am so sorry.
What I will say is, you mentioning New Orleans, you have to do a Waffle House. It's not the best experience, but it is bomb. But go off.
Oh,
yes.
girl, I will. Oh, I'm gonna do everything I can. I'm gonna get my whole ass life there,
as you should.
And besides that, I'm here to tell y'all, dear listeners, take the mental health day. Just take it. In Trump's America, you need it, girl. Tell your boss you need the day. Tell your boss you need the week. I'm about to tell mine too. Just take the mental health day, y'all. I know you see here listening to this like, no, I don't have the time. There's a lot of tasks to do. The tasks will be there tomorrow. The tasks will be there next month. But you may not be if you don't take the mental health day, girl. Take it now. Because I am this close. And you can't see my fingers, y'all. But they are not but a centimeter apart. I am this close to a mentee bee. Y'all need to take the day. Okay? Take the damn day.
Take the day. Take the
Whew,
day.
girl.
Yeah.
Anywho, in tradition of celebrating our favorite famous girl, Miss Tisha Campbell, and the
Yes.
fact that somehow, against all odds, we are still here,
Still.
even though we're about to get legislated out of existence. I want to start off the show by asking, what's something the current you, what's something in this current moment
Mm-hmm.
that the old you is proud of the current you for?
Okay.
For
Okay.
moi,
Mm-hmm.
old me is proud of current me for not letting myself water down my feelings.
Amen. Amen.
Like I used to be a oh it's fine type of bitch.
Mm-hmm.
If someone hurt my feelings or said something out of pocket, I'd be the bitch that's like, oh it's fine, it's no problem when it
Mm-hmm.
was in fact a problem.
T. Mm-hmm.
And current me is like, actually no, it is a problem.
It is a problem.
And I appreciate you trying to appreciate you trying to give me an apology, but actually, we're gonna do this thing called accountability.
Mm-hmm.
Accountability.
Yes.
What you won't do anymore is have me looking like Boo the Fool
Is
with
that?
that with that
Mm-hmm.
atrocious ass apology. What you're
Yeah.
gonna do is get some restoration.
Yes.
We're gonna give me some justice. I ain't
Yes.
got no time now to be sitting here like, no, it's totally fine. I don't mind at all. It was actually my fault. It was not my fault.
No,
It was actually
it's
not
never
my
been your
fault.
fault,
It was
sis.
actually not my fault, my problem, or my
Mm-hmm.
worry. It's
Mm-hmm.
actually your worry. And now it's a problem, and now I'm gonna be a problem for you.
Amen.
And that's
Amen.
just how it's gonna be. I'm tired of winding myself down. I'm gonna hype myself up and say next time you fuck with a bitch, you fuck with a bull bitch, you gonna get the
Get the
horns.
horns. You got to
Okay?
get the horns. You know what this reminds me of? So there's this GIF slash meme of a young black woman. I don't know what her
Mm.
name is. I see her everywhere, and she's from New York. And there's like a moment where you see her walk through a door, and she's like, so actually, you know what, actually, now that I think about it, I'm a little pissed off.
Yes.
That's what that's giving me,
Yes.
of like, when you used to be that girl to be like, oh, that's okay, that's fine, that's not a problem. And then just after a while you start thinking about, actually, you know what, that did piss me off, and I'm actually
Mm-hmm.
gonna talk to you about it because I'm
Mm-hmm.
not gonna let it eat me up. I know that's
Mm-hmm.
right. I know
Mm-hmm.
that's right. So for me, I'll say this. I had a moment this weekend where I easily could have flew off the handle. And the current me handled it with
Why
so
couldn't
much
you stay
ease.
calm for once instead of flying off the handle? I hope you're happy. I hope you're happy now.
Ow! I hope you're happy. I hope you're happy now. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, very much. I wasn't even thinking about that when I wrote that. But ultimate, and that also goes to show, I hope that you get it. I hope that yeah, I hope you're happy and the end.
And
I
I
hope
hope you're
you're
happy,
happy,
my
my friend.
friend.
Yes, 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 yes. Oh, I live for it. I need to watch that again just to put myself in the happy place. But no, I'll be honest, it gooped me. Like it gooped. Like
Mm.
there was like, it was almost like I felt like I split myself in half, and I could feel the other Jonathan getting ready to lose it. And the other me was like, no, no, no. Let's just go ahead and handle this in a good way. And I walked away from it. I said, damn, I've really grown. Like it was like one of those moments where I was standing in front of the elevator in my hotel, and I said, you know what? I'm really, really proud of myself. And it was
Mm.
like the old me looked at me and was like, I don't know this bitch. And it,
Yes.
it was just, and it was over something really petty. I
Yes.
don't want to talk too much about it. But again, I used to be that girl that was notorious for flying off the edge and being like, I was ready to go off on anybody and everybody for anything and everything. And in this moment, that was like the first real time that I caught myself feeling like, no, handle this in a very, adult. I'm not going
Mm.
to say like not grown, but handle this in an adult way. And it got resolved, and it's still like I said, it's just, especially with how everything feels and how everything is. I told myself, I said, you don't want to you don't want to add to it, right? Like I think
Yeah.
everyone's on edge already, and so it's like you don't want to add to that. So yeah, I just like I said, I was literally really really proud of me. When I took my shower and I laid down in my bed and I turned on my iPad to watch my Netflix, like I genuinely was just looking at myself in the reflection of my iPad screen and was like, bitch, I'm proud of you for how you handled
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Bitch, you doing a good job.
Yeah.
You
Bitch,
doing
you
a
doing a
good,
good
good
job.
job.
Yes. That's exactly what it's giving.
Liv, I'm
Mhm.
so girl, I'm proud of you for
Yeah.
you. I'm proud
Yeah.
of you for you. Also, as we as we belted out, Wiki, my roommate, texted and said we're gonna get sued for that for that.
Because she
she
heard us
heard she heard
singing.
it. She said that's a copyright. You
Yeah.
need to
Well, no,
stop.
we technically can
We can
sing
do
for
10
5 seconds.
seconds. 5 seconds.
You can? Because I
I have
thought it
no
was
idea
five.
what some amount of seconds in between
Yeah.
before.
Yeah. 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 Either
But
way, I know it's people.
she said that's a lawsuit, girl. I said,
Yeah.
oh,
Mm-mm.
stop listening to me like this. You so silly,
Yeah.
Savannah.
Not
I live.
not them having their ear pressed to the
She
door.
said,
They said I'm the third. I am the
listen,
third
she
co-host,
is
whether you want to admit it
she
or
is
not.
my PR manager. So she's like, what
Yes.
we're not gonna do is get you twisted in this PR scheme.
Amen. Amen. They
I
already
live.
cutting stuff. We don't want them cutting you.
Oh my
Yes.
God. Who fam? Well, now that we have celebrated what we've been and how far we have come, my God, because we
Amen.
have come so far. Copyrights be damned. We're gonna take a short break, and when we get back, we're gonna get into some verbal voguing, baby. Let's want to see into this week's category.
This is what I want to say.
We'll be back in just a sec.
Oh God. All right, y'all. So this week, we are back, and what I think. So I'll say this: our listeners, and whether you're new or old, you probably think we're gonna take this conversation in the way you know we normally would, but we're not. I wanted to chat this week about something that I think everyone and their mama is talking about, but I wanted to kind of put a spin on it, just because I feel like I don't want this conversation to be the old redundant way. Like yes, we could sit here for like what 20-30 minutes talking about DEI and these models and the importance and why we need them and blah 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 blah. But I mean, and for those of you who may be living under a rock, there's been a lot of companies, specifically companies we know and love, that have given DEI the boot. And while I think it would be important for us to go through that and to talk through that, I actually just kind of been putting this together, and me and Joho were talking about this, prior to us recording. It was, we really wanted to talk about something else. So I wanted to ask the question this week, knowing what we know about DEI and folks getting rid of it. I wanted to kind of put a spin on it and talk about capitalism and performative inclusion. And I wanted to chat surviving capitalism as an intersectional queer. So, with that being said, now some of you are probably thinking, or you've probably heard, you probably hear this, and you're like, capitalism and being an intersectional queer. What the fuck? Like, what the hell does that mean? And what I mean is that I think we have made mentioned several times on the show that we believe that how we got here, specifically in 2025, is mainly because of capitalism. And so I kind of wanted to like throw that out as kind of a thought of like, how did we get to this point of these companies getting rid of all of this stuff, and how like capitalism fed into that, and then talking through kind of like really just having a real conversation about like this moment, as much as everyone's focusing on, oh, this man in office is doing this and these companies are doing that, how all of this kind of ties back to a bigger issue around capitalism. And I think that's something we've never really addressed on the show. And so, yeah, I just wanted to know if you have any thoughts before we kind of jump into, kind of
Yeah.
the education of it all.
I want to name capitalism and consumerism go hand in hand. I think it's important to note that capitalism is a system that drives our economy. I could, one can frame it as our why, whereas consumerism is our expression of participation in that system, or could be seen as our how, right? Like our why is capitalism, our how is consumerism. And I think another reason why I think we arrived here is because our country has been obsessed with being the richest.
Yeah.
At the cost of our own people, because to our country, money is one of our expressions of power.
Yep.
And if we can increase capital or our money, we can create a society where big companies run everything and we can flex our power to everybody else. We also manipulate people who live in this system to constantly consume so that they can articulate their own power and standing, demonstrate that they too are a quote unquote force to be reckoned with via their participation in capitalism. So it's a gross system that prioritizes individualism over everything. There's no sense of community in these systems, which I want to name because if we're talking about, how we survive as queer people, right? Community is rooted in our culture as queer people, and this system is inherently antithetical to that.
Yeah, well, okay. So, this segment's over. Like, we don't even. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Like, no, you really, yes, you said what needed to be said. It really, and wow, damn. Like, looking at your thoughts and hearing you say that, it really brings to mind like a lot of, I wouldn't say the issues I have, but the moments of when like as much as it's nice to have a little bit of coin and to be able to pay your bills and to be able to help your community, right? And we talked a lot about this maybe 2 episodes ago, right? When we were talking
last week,
where we were talking about the Eaton fires and community and the need to help everybody, right? There's still this element of capitalism even in that, because, as you all probably know now, it's been almost a few weeks. The fires are still burning. There are still fires burning in Southern California, right? And now you have these people that are, they're trying to figure out how they're going to put their lives back together. And now there are companies that are swooping in that are saying, hey, we want your land. We'll give you this amount of money for you to sell your home to us. And it's like, I can't even process the pain of losing my home before having to worry about all of the dollar value of it all, right? So a lot of it does feel gross. And I think that's been the thing that, while I'm answering my own question, I think it is so important for us to understand and really kind of stand behind this notion that of the idea that these big businesses, and I say big business, and what I mean by that is not just like housing. I'm talking about all of these businesses, specifically the businesses that we see that are stepping away from DEI practices or that are ultimately saying, let's turn down, quote unquote, let's turn down the identity politics in this work. They're doing that because they recognize that to purport themselves as socially aware also has a bottom line too, right? The bottom line, and when we really talk about all of this is the thing that I often tell people, right? To your point, Joho, it's all about power, right? It's all a power. It's a power game, right? And so if you can make the most money as a company, and I tell people this all the time, it is expensive to do the right thing. That is what we're seeing right now. Companies are not divesting from DEI, not exclusively because they don't care about people. They never cared about us in the first place. They never cared about Black people. They never cared about Latinx people. They never cared about queer people. They don't care. The thing is that in order for you to do the right thing as a company, it's going to cost you a lot of cash. It's going to cost you a lot of moolah, payola. And in this world, there is no equitable way to make money or stay rich unless you recognize that being rich is about upholding a certain level of privilege and access. So that's the thing I think I kind of really wanted to get into. And I know you have some thoughts about this, Joho, right? Specifically naming that a lot of the capitalism that we see, a lot of, these companies are saying, well, we're going to roll back the DEI of it all. It's just racism. It's built totally on racism. It's built on a system of racism. And ultimately, can I just say this on the mic and then I'll let you go. I was sitting with this the other day and I just was going I think we keep forgetting to name that just it's not even just our country. This entire world is racist. and I'm not laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing because I'm just kind of like, I don't know I don't know why we're wasting so much air on talking about like, oh, these companies are doing, I'm not going to shop at Target. Baby, everybody's racist. Everything is built on racism, period. So it's like, I don't even know why people are surprised, but don't let me get into my head about that.
I mean, you're right. American capitalism was built on racial exploitation, right?
Yeah.
from the enslavement of Black folks to institutionalized discrimination and that structural impact our nation's economic and legal systems. Like it's all racist. There's an article by, her name is Elizabeth Kennedy, for Pro Market that focuses on, the headline is, "To build an equitable economy, we must understand capitalism's racist heritage," right? They write, "Creating an equitable society requires us to examine and understand the history of capitalism and its reliance on racialized oppression." There's this other part in the which talks about like the writer talks about the upbringings of it, and there's a line that says, "Other countries could not compete with a nation that codified a caste of workers as non-human and legalized violence as a management technique." So so the idea of making bodies as commodities, particularly Black bodies, other immigrant bodies as commodities, and legalizing station violence against them as a way of management, like absolutely fueled our our rise of capitalism. There's also another quote in there that says, "Whether capitalism could exist without racism ignores, as historian Walter Johnson affirms, that there was no such thing as capitalism without slavery."
Yep.
Like capitalism, they actually cannot exist. Whether it could exist or not without racism now still has to be present to the fact that capitalism will not exist without slavery in the first place.
Right.
Which is just wild.
Yeah. To your point. And so if we really, really want to unpack that, right, the DEI of it all, right, everyone's like, oh, okay, well, Black and brown and marginalized people are not being given the jobs. And there's a part of me that hears that and kind of goes, good? Because if we really think about it, right, like if we're talking about capitalism as slavery, you've heard Black people, specifically Black women, for years say, I got this big girl job and I got in this job and everything fell on me. So now it becomes my job to do everybody else's job in the organization or the company. So like the idea of, and again, I'm not saying that we shouldn't have any DEI practices in our companies. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that there is this idea that, and it's frustrating because it's also too like someone had posted, and I know I'm all over the place because I have a million thoughts. I saw someone post that white women, you're DEI too, and it was
yes, you are. I'm sorry. Before what year? The 1900s? Were you not able to work yourself?
Yeah,
like you are actually the recipient of original DEI practices. Like that's how it was, girl. Yeah. Unfortunately, you too were part of this process, whether you want to be or not. It's
right. And so, I mean, hell, you couldn't even vote up until 1950. Ooh. So like, I'm saying like, I think there's a lot of there's so many pieces and so many layers to this. And I just think for me, like, when I ask this question about how are we surviving as an intersectional queer, and I know I know we're probably going to get emails with questions of like, well, what do we do? What can we do? What do we do? How do we work through this? Right. Of knowing like, but I think for me, and this is the thing, I just like, there's no equitable way to be like to consume like that's just, and it's, and I guess that's the reason what I wanted to bring to the mic. Like, I think, I see all these people that are saying, oh, I'm not going to shop at Target and I'm not going to shop here and I'm not going to shop there because they're not. And I'm like, baby, even if they had all of the best DEI practices, they are still participating in capitalism and there's still no equitable way to do that. So my thing becomes like, even if you say, well, I'm not going to give them my money because I want to make sure my money is going to the right place. I'm going, baby, how everybody is participating in this system in a very, very gross way because that is how the system is built. The entire system is built for it to not be equitable. So, no matter what you're saying, like even like I said, even if they did uphold their DEI practices and continue to do so, they're still upholding systems of discrimination and the ways in which business feeds into that. There's just no. So I guess that's a good question. Can I ask you, do you believe that there is an equitable way for anybody to consume?
Okay.
We asking big questions today.
Well, like, girl, I'm in danger. That's what it's giving me.
Chuckles.
Okay, so
yeah.
So like, I mean, so one thing, so okay, so I love this question. One thing I'm thinking about as well is I just want to like hark back to everyone's upset with these with these big businesses about their DEI policies, because I want to be clear. Let us be clear in this moment of like what's also happening and why, right? Like many of these companies roll back their DEI policies after the court ruling in 2023, I believe it's 2023, that basically ended affirmative action, right? Like many of them did that. Well, affirmative action is impacting like essentially DEI in schools. A lot of businesses are worried that this like a lot of the reasons why, whether these companies want to do it or not, right? Like part of it is because it's being illegalized, and so if they continue to do these things, then like they can get sued, and then they could like, some organizations will say we'll take the hit, and that's great, right? And some businesses are saying we can't take the hit because we're gonna like them will close all of our branches across the country, the world, right? And then no one will have access to this place. So like, and so I use that just as like not to give businesses a pass at all. Like I'm not saying they deserve a pass, but I also want to be, but like it's not just that Seals woke up one day and said, "Oh, thank God, Trump's here. We can just roll this shit back." It's also kind of to cover their own ass in some ways. And so I think your point about equitable consumerism, I think like at the end of the day, many of these organizations still, many of these businesses, like for example, I saw there's an interesting point about Target, right? A lot of people were like, "Fuck Target, let's boycott Target," but there are a lot of people who were also like, "Okay, but there are still great Black-owned brands or minority-owned brands who still rely on their partnership with Target for their income, and that partnership like requires people to go buy their stuff too." Right. Now, I think equitable consumerism would look like, how is there a direct line to that brand instead, right? Like I think the issue is that maybe Target should not be the middle person involved. But Target also has had the resources to increase their production, had the resources to get their brand out there and give them a stronger brand identity, right? So what are ways in which we can also like we can also do that? And I juxtapose this, right, with Francesca Ramsey's I discussed it last episode, but with her point of just because something is minority owned does not mean that's inherently great. And so I think right, when we think of equitable consumerism, we have to think of how do we support like our people in distributing great products. One, right. How do we support those products and maybe cut out a middle person who who I think the issue is that Target probably gives the money up front, right? And so they can build a business, versus with people like then they'll have to build a business in a slow way with like slow income from us, right? Or prices are gonna be really, really high as well too. Like that's the other part, is like having equitable consumerism is also hard because like let's be honest, y'all. You go to a nice new restaurant that's farm to table and the prices are $30 for a plate of dinner, and you're like, I'm not paying $30 for this plate of dinner, right? Like we also are like mad about when we gotta spend too much money on stuff. I know sometimes I'm like, is this plate of chicken worth $30 just to support my
just to support the local economy,
local farm? Is it that worth it? Because $30 can go a long way some days. I can get me 2 rounds of Taco Bell with this or something, And so I think part of this is also your own mindset. Like I think people, we're seeing that the systems around us are not built for equitable consumerism, and it's intentional. That's intentional. And so I hate to put the onus on us because I don't believe, because of the day, and so I think in one way, right, like we can't be responsible. Like people can't boycott Target or Walmart. Because at the end of the day, people rely on those things. They do. One, because it's the only place that is in their area that they can access and reach. Right. The onus is not on them to have to dismantle that system. And that at the same time, the onus also is on us to figure out a different way to participate in a different form of consumerism, because we know that the systems around us are not built on purpose by design to embrace a lens of equitable consumerism. So I think your
Yeah.
question, like, is there a way to do it? I mean, I honestly don't know how. I think part of it comes down to how do we invest? Well, let me rephrase. There is a way how, but it requires a lot more risk from us than there is reward. And I think in the day,
Yeah.
as humans, we're all hardwired to like have risk to have reward. We all
Yeah.
want the low dopamine hit because or the culture that, maybe not all humans, but Americans as our culture makes us do, right. Our culture hardwires us to say we want to have the dopamine hit of pleasure,
Buying something.
pleasure
Pleasure. Yeah.
and instant gratification. And so,
Mm-hmm.
are
Mm-hmm.
we willing to, right? Like, are we willing to forsake Amazon Prime delivery in 2 days, and and use this black owned marketplace brand instead too? But people don't want to sacrifice convenience, and so I
Mm-hmm.
think like it's just a really hard way. I think equitable consumerism only begins truly. I believe it only begins in like smaller intentional communities, right? Like I only see it
Mm.
happen in farmers markets. I see it only happen in commune like style places, right? Like in those places serve as models where you actually can begin to practice a level of equitable consumerism. But it's a lot of work to do that as well too. It's a lot of work to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's hard, and I mean, obviously, I don't have any clear answer, and I'm not saying, I'm gonna be really clear. I'm not saying whether these things are right or wrong. And I'm not trying to drag anybody. Like I'm dragging myself
No.
in,
No. No. No.
like in the
No.
same vein. Like I
Yeah.
also to forsake convenience is really hard, right? But one thing I
Mm.
think about a lot is like right now I live in a place where I can access many things by foot, and so my privilege is that I can be a bit more equitable in my consumerism because I can walk to places, not have to drive to places or have things delivered. I can walk and do those things myself,
Mm-hmm.
which
Mm-hmm.
is amazing. You know, for example, right? Like John, like you live in an area where you can't do that. You have to drive
No. You.
to
You
X
do.
Y Z
Yeah. You do.
to
And I.
get these things.
Yeah. And I mean, you. Oh my gosh, what you just said is very much like I'm fucking with it so much because it's real. Like it's and I definitely want to say to your point, a lot of this stuff is designed this like a lot of this stuff is built this way by design. Like it
Mm-hmm.
is intentional because the thing is like so look like so let's talk about me for a second, right? Let me put myself out on front street because like I said, this year I want to be a lot more
Mm-hmm.
forward about me per se, and I feel like being a little bit more vulnerable on the show is really helping me kind of process some things. So
Mm-hmm.
like me and my partner, we go, okay, well, we want a bigger place and we want this and we want that. We want more space, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So we move into a bigger place.
Mm-hmm.
But now the gag is everything around us, it takes 15-20 minutes to get to. So that means you have to have a car. But
Mm-hmm.
also on top of that, there is no outside of a Stater Brothers and outside of maybe an Albertsons and outside of a Ralph's, there's nothing else around me in order to quote unquote consume, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
have to drive to Target sometimes to get stuff for my hair. I have to drive to Target to get a shirt or some clothes, if I want to look cute for something, right? Like for my partners, we had like I said, I had a death in my family. What I wore to that event was, and this is the other gag of it all too. Let's talk about, if we really want to go there, and these are the things that I'm, like I said, these are all of the things that I'm constantly thinking about.
Yeah.
If I want clothes, especially being a big girl, I can't just walk into a Forever 21 or a more high end company to find something to wear, right? Like I have to order it and wait 2 to 3 weeks, right? So in this instance where I'm being asked to do this thing for the family member who passed away, I need something I believe is nice to wear. So the only place I can go is Target because there's a big girl line there.
You want ethical and equitable consumerism? Give me a fat bitch opportunities to buy these clothes 5 feet from my house.
Direct, right?
Like,
Directly. It's all like all of this shit is it, like, so I said, like, they're like you want to, and this is the thing I'm really trying to posit here. We want to do the right thing. It's not like we're setting out to be a terrible person every single day. Like at least for me, for me and my household, I'm always trying to do what I believe is the least damage in this world, right? I'm trying not to harm anyone or do harm in anything that I do. But the system is so set up, and I guess that's what I'm
Yeah.
trying to say with putting myself out on Front Street. Yes, do I want to ignore Target? Yes. There might be moments in me where I'm like, fuck Target because of what they're doing or because of what they've done. But by design, I'm set up to be like, for Target to be that only line for me right now, because there's not even, like I said, there's no other place around me at this point that I can drive to outside of a Target. And especially, and this is what I'm also talking about, time, right? How many of us really have and so this is what I'm trying to say too, because I know that there might be people that might be listening and be like, John, you're looking for outs, you're looking for ways to talk about it as if you're not holding yourself accountable. And I'm going, okay, if I was to sit down and try to think about that, how like there's so much time in trying to like, and again, if it was easy, we'd all be doing it. That's what I'm really trying to get at. This shit is made this way intentionally for us to be like, well, we have to rely on Target, we have to rely on Walmart, we have to rely on this Amazon for things, because if we don't, if it's not done this way, then we're pretty much, you know what I mean? Like we're pretty, it's made this way in order for us to feed into it. That's literally what I'm trying to say. And so the gag becomes like, how do we figure out a way to disengage all of this stuff? And again, I don't want to ignore the DEI of it all, right? Like, yes, the DEI of it is important, right? It is important for us to hold these companies accountable and to say, well, you said you were going to do this and now you're not. What the fuck is going on? But I will also say that there's still a part of us too that has to sit with all of this and has to say, what are we going to do to make sure that we're not putting all of our eggs in the baskets of companies like Target and the companies, I don't know who else rescinded their DEI. Like, I mean, I know Costco still has it, but what I'm saying is, it's like, we can't keep looking to them as being the end all be alls for everything that we do and everything that we need. So
yeah, I think context is important for people. I think it's really easy. It's really easy for people to be upset with others for what they don't do when you don't understand the context in which the person exists, right? Like, for example, like, it could be easy for me to, like, to your point of someone saying, John, like trying to find it out, right? It could be easy for me to be like, John, like, you could do more in this way. But at the end of the day, again, I live in a place where I can literally walk to do all those things myself.
Right.
So like my context is different than your context. So that's and that's a matter of the region which the different regions in which we live. You know, the ways our lives are set up, the ways we want different things. Like, and so it actually does me no justice, and does you no justice for me to sit here and like try and drag you for it, because like because we have like two different like contexts of life, and and people really need to understand that context really is really important for how people live their lives. I think you also made a point, right, of like having a bigger space. And I think that's something I think about a lot is in capitalism in America, right? Really, capitalism's experiment, or America's experiment, was toying with the idea that we need more space. That's something that I'm grappling with a lot, right? Especially as I own this condo and I think about, like, am I going to sell it? Am I going to keep it? You know, do I want to buy a actual house and like a bigger house, right? I grew up in a house that was, to me, like a great size. You know, I never feel like I need like a 2-story house or anything. I don't need a mansion. I don't need too much space.
These stairs, my God,
like,
they are kicking my ass. But go off.
Horrible. But, you know, I know in my life, like, I want to own, if I want to own a house, I want to own like a single family home that is pretty quaint. I don't need to have a big ass house. Right? But like in America, the creation of the suburb was white flight, but also was the idea to have more space, right? So you have a 6-room house with a full backyard and full front yard, and it's framed as like, oh, you have a place to raise your kids, you have a place to like, you have a place to have your own space, but like that is also a part of consumerism. We are then made to consume too much, because then you also have to fill that space with all these things as well, right? And that becomes like then the symbol that you made it, right? You made it if you have a big ass house in a suburb, where you have, a 3,000 foot house, 3,000 square foot house with a huge backyard, a pool, and a big ass front yard, right? Like, then you've made it. But what you're sacrificing is the ability to have a close relationship with your neighbors, the ability to have like, people in your yard with you to do stuff with, and you were told not to do that because that's quote unquote more dangerous, right? Really, it was just about the idea of they didn't want people to mix with other races in the same cities. But
Right,
so,
right.
but so, like I'm thinking a lot about now as an adult, like especially as I am 30 and thinking about the idea of putting roots down. How do I want to put roots down? Do I want to stay in a city and stay in like a condo place and a condo or apartment style building where I maybe have just like a balcony? Do I want to do a townhouse where I have a small yard? Because I do want a small yard. I do want the ability to like grow my own veggies and stuff, right? I would love to live in a place where maybe it's a complex that has a community garden that I can be a part of, right? Like that's the thing that I want that will make what's most pleasing to me would be that style of like of living,
Mm.
and that is like how that's like one way that I would want to try and break away from the confines of capitalism and consumerism, or make my oppression much easier to navigate and deal with, is that I live in a space where I feel more communal around me.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but that's also really not easy because
It's not.
places are expensive.
Mm-hmm.
People have to be on board with you, right? How often do you get to know your neighbors,
Mm.
in these places and spaces? And so like,
Yeah.
like it's all like, I think it's not about the idea of having it out. It's the idea of recognizing, like if someone's telling you that someone's mad at you for trying to have an out, it's like, okay, but why is it John's responsibility to fix these systems? Why
And
is
that's
it
the real gag of it
not
all. Yes.
like what
Mm-hmm.
why, like, are we all responsible for doing something? Sure, I believe that. And also, you truthfully, you will die before you can do that.
Right.
And like
Right.
and what I don't want is someone to like make you be a martyr for a system that will not crumble just under one person,
Right.
and and then you die for it. Like, I
Yeah.
no, I'm sorry, but I cannot ask anybody. Some people feel like they can say yes, like I'll die to do what's right, and I get that, but I see, like, I won't ask anyone to die,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
for that, because if they die, then how will they keep doing what's right? Like,
Right.
that's just how I see it. I won't ask
Yeah.
anybody to die for that work. I will say,
Yeah.
let's risk things together. Let's risk safety together. But I don't want people to risk their lives for it. Some people will, and some people do it. And I think there is, like, there for sure is a there is, like, I get why people do it, and there is like a reason to do that. But I don't find joy, and I don't find like, to me, like, no, I don't think you're morally superior or more righteous to
Mm.
do that. I think
Right.
like
Mm-hmm.
what's better is that we find ways to get you to live
Right.
and break systems, and rather than die or break systems.
Yeah. And I mean, and I think that there's, out this will be kind of like my last thought, so I'm sitting with, as I'm listening to you talk, my mind is in the place of do the best that you can when you can. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that there are some things where there are some active ways that even for me with my dollar where I'll go, I'm not going there. I'm not shopping there. I'm not spending my money there because I know, like, for instance, Hobby Lobby, you could not get me to walk into a Hobby Lobby. It is very clear and it is very, now, I don't know what other people do with their money, but I know for me and for mine, Hobby Lobby is one place I will never spend my dollar, right? But I'm thinking to myself, like, that is there are some things that I can say I could go without that. I don't ever need to shop there because
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not gonna make or break me, right? But what I'm saying is, someone could say, well, you can make the same thing, you can make the same notion for Target. And I'm going, okay, if where I'm at is this. We can't keep talking about stuff and not providing alternatives. And that's where
Mm-hmm.
my heart is right now. If we're going, like, collectively as a community, I would love for us to start having these difficult conversations about, yes, where people are putting their money, who they're putting their money behind, blah blah. We can have all of that, but let's also have the conversation of what is the alternative. So you have a you have issues with, Tim Cook, and you have issues with Apple. Okay, so what's my alternative? Going to an Android? Absolutely not. So, like, what do I do? Like, well, who where do I go? You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of stuff. So like I need people, and again, I'm not I'm asking this partly to be funny, but I'm also partly really serious. You're telling people who may rely heavily and solely on Target to stop shopping at Target. What is the alternative for somebody who lives in a place like myself where I can't shop anywhere else? And I'll be transparent. Someone could even say, well, you could go to Walmart. There is no Walmart around me, sis. Where I live, there is no Walmart. I would have to drive 25, 30 minutes away to get to a Walmart. And so now I'm looking around and I'm going, I barely have time sometimes to eat. Like I'm rushing to eat today. And I'm going, so 25 minutes to drive to a store because I don't want to give my money to Target. Girl, if you don't get the fuck up out of here with that. Like I'm just saying, like I know, like I know, and I know that this conversation will probably have some of y'all ready to type on them keys, and you're probably wanting to send us messages, and you want to send us your thoughts, and you're probably even saying this conversation is problematic. Yes, I wanted to lean into this conversation because these are the conversations we need to be having. But what I'm saying is that if we're going to critique these systems, right, we've got to come up with a collective alternative. And that is the thing I guess I'm trying to inspire with this conversation is like we as a community, what are so and again, if you've got issues with I don't want to speak for Joe, I'm gonna speak for myself. If you got issues with me going to Target, I need to know the alternative. That's literally all that I'm saying. If you've got an issue with any form of capitalism that either one of us participate in, collectively as a community, I would love for us to start entertaining alternatives that actually are going to move the needle. That's where I'm at.
I'll just say, I'll, I'll just say that if anyone's coming for anybody, but you're also the person who's still using TikTok, talk to us nice. Talk to us nice. That's all I gotta say. Because
Any of these social media platforms,
let's be honest about
TBH,
like the ways in which we negotiate what's right and wrong in this place.
right? And I think that's the other gag of it all for me in this moment is that there's so many people on a high horse
Yeah.
around what they do and what they don't do. And again, like I said, I'm not trying to drag anybody. I just think where I want to engage these conversations because I don't feel like there's enough nuance in them, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not saying like again, I want to make it very clear that I'm not saying I stand for Target and I'm gonna go up for Target and I'm gonna go up for all of these. No, fuck all these companies. Fuck capitalism as a whole because it is damning and has done a lot of damage and it has hurt a lot of people and it's going to hurt a lot of people. That is the thing I want to make very, very clear that I'm trying to be on the right side when I talk about this shit. But I also want to make it very clear that we live in a system that has intentionally made it hard for us to move away from this stuff. So my thing becomes if we're going to stand on business and we're going to talk about all the things we should be doing and all the things that we shouldn't be doing with our money, specifically with my money, with my LLC, with my 1099, I want to know what the alternative is. And I'm not telling people to jump on the keys to write me a dissertation about what the alternative is. I'm just asking us to engage that before we go to somebody and tell them what they should be doing or what they shouldn't be doing. Like, make sure you have a very clear cut plan and objective to say. Because again, and I agree with you. So you tell me don't shop at and I keep using Target as an example because that's the only thing that's coming to mind because we are recording very early. So I have people, I think about this kind of like you said to Francesca's point. Well, just because it's minority owned doesn't make it a good company. Okay, so you tell me, don't shop at Target, don't shop at Walmart, don't shop at any of these big retailers like Amazon or blah 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 to get your stuff. Okay, is the alternate just as good? Because I want to know. I would like to know that. Like that is literally where my head is. Like so, and I mean, we can beat this for hours, but I'm just saying, like, I think we all have to just be very careful. I guess that's my point. And wrapping up this segment, I think we've really got to be very careful about what advice and what thoughts and what things we're telling people to do and not do with their money, especially right now when so many of us
Yeah.
might not have a lot of it. Like there are a lot of people who are really struggling and it's like please don't add to the stress that people already have of being like, now I have to feel guilty for just trying to survive. And I think that, like I said, this whole high horse piece, it ties right back into capitalism. That's literally what it's intended to do. So, but anyway, I don't know if you wanted to add anything else before we move on.
No, go ahead, girl. You wrapped it up a nice little
Okay. Anyway, all that to be said, now that I want to sell everything I own and move into a commune, we need to take a break and collect my things. But when we get back, we're going to talk about what's on our plate more in a bit.
All right, fam, we are back, and this week we're diving to the lighter side of our entire episode that we had ain't that heavy, though it was good. Now, this week we will keep with the theme of consumerism. I want to ask you, what's something that you consume too much of? That's something that you can't help but keep purchasing.
I feel attacked.
You know, I had thought of you when I wrote this question. I had thought
My
of
God. Yes, yes. You know I love to buy, girl.
I know you love to buy, girl. You love to buy. And rightfully so. Rightfully so.
My God.
So I would say for me, the thing that I consume too much of, I think, is like coffee. I will go out of my way. I will show up late to a meeting. I will show up late to a game. I will show up late to anything. That means that I can go out of the way and get myself a little treat by giving myself a little coffee at some local coffee shop. Do I have an espresso maker at home? Yes. Can I make my own espresso at home? Can I make my own latte at home? Yes. And sometimes I do. Yes. But yes. And yet I keep deciding to say, no, let me just go on my way and buy this thing, right? It often comes down to, I don't have the time. I I don't have time to get the beans out, grind the beans, put in the thing. I don't have time to do all that, right? I could. I have a grinder. I have all the things. I can do all the things I need to do. I can make my own syrups. If I want to be that bitch, I can make my own syrups. I don't know how to do it, but I'd rather. But I'm like, I'd rather just go and support some local coffee shop and pay $10 for this little decaf latte for 12 ounces, as half of it is ice, and be on my way. So. Even though I'm like, girl, why? I would literally be literally the other day. I was on my way to a meeting. I was 4 feet from parking right in front of the office. I said, let me go and get a little treatsy real quick. That's fine. That'll take 4 minutes. When I came back,
I just see you doing the spin on that wheel, being like, I got a little bit of time. T. Yeah, that's real. That's real. I feel that, and you know what? I want to one plus that because. I too. So I will if I know I'm leaving this house. So like yesterday, again, vulnerability. I have a CPAP machine. I have to sleep with it, and I had to go get a new one. And my appointment yesterday was at 8:30. Tell me why the night before me leaving, I was like not Googling. I was on my Maps app detailing how far it would take me, like how long it would take me to get there. And then I was like, okay, well, it takes technically 40 minutes to get there. So that means I need to leave 55 minutes ahead of time. So I have enough time to slide through the coffee bean to get me something to drink because I have a coffee bean right next to where I was going. That's literally like, so I'm right there with you. Cause girl, I'm notorious too for putting in extra time and being like, how long will it take me to slide through this coffee bean?
If I tell someone I'm running late, it's because I'm getting coffee. I'm like, yep. Oh, I'm so sorry, it's my cats. No, it's because I'm getting coffee, girl. I am happily texting you. If I text you, I'm on my way. I am happily in line at a coffee shop.
That part.
I'm definitely not on my way. I'm getting coffee. So sorry.
I feel that. So so this is a great question. And I think it's a very human question because it's like, who are we to talk about these systems if we're not also interrogating ourselves? And we went back and forth about all the things that I purchased that I probably shouldn't purchase. But I said the one thing I feel the most comfortable talking about that doesn't make me feel like trash is fast fashion. And I say that it's kind of like I would love to really be like, okay, like I could go here and I can go to these other places and buy stuff. But I also know, and kind of taking a page out of Jade's book. So, I listened to Jade and XD, and I know that was something that they talked about last week on their show. They were talking about like how how much we're ruining the earth because of fast fashion. And I know there's a
Mm-hmm.
whole documentary about it. There's a whole documentary about, what the ways that we are ruining the earth. And when I say fast fashion, what I'm talking about is like Shein, and what I'm talking about is also like Forever 21, and H&M is also a fast fashion brand. Like all, and I it's not to say I shop there all the time, but there have been times where I have said, okay, if I'm going to buy this one thing, I'm going to buy it in every single color. Like, and then that's something I do. And the reason why I do it is because it's like, well, if I can get this one thing in this size and I know that I have multiple versions of it, it just makes it easier for me along down the line if I have to like get dressed. I don't have to worry about not having something to wear. And it is something I think a lot about. Like, in my part, and there are other things too. Like, there I was just telling Joho about something I bought that I probably shouldn't have bought. But it's one of those things of like, I'm trying to actively slow down and tell myself like, girl, you don't have to buy that shirt in 6 different colors
Mm.
if you're only going to wear it probably 2 or 3 times. And so I try to be what I'm trying to be more intentional about is, if I'm going to buy all of these clothes, to try to make sure that I wear them regularly, or that before I think about going out to buy something new for an event or for a conference or for a show or whatever the case may be, that I wear what I actually own. And it's hard. It's hard because we live in a world, and I say we, meaning me and Joho, where we're constantly in front of a camera, or we're constantly at an event, or we're constantly running around with people, and we want to look good. And so in your mind, it's like, I want to buy something new, but you also feel bad because you're feeding into the system again of capitalism. And so that's something I'm trying to be more intentional about, of like, girl, you don't need that. You don't need that dress in like
Mm.
8 different colors. Get it into 2 and wear it until it starts to tear. That's really it. So
Well, now that we us thinking about the ways in which we should stop consuming, I'm gonna take my break and get a little treat to the coffee shop next door. Just just for that one last hit of dopamine.
The dopamine
One last hit
hit.
of dopamine. We'll be
Oh.
back in just a sec.
All right, everybody. So we are back with our final segment of this episode. And for those of you who are new listening around here, our last segment is Yes, Ma'am, No, Ma'am, Pam. This is where we talk about the things that we love, or the things that we love to see, and the things that we don't. This week, I'm just going to go ahead. Both of mine are very, very simple and very kind of quick to the point. I simply just wanted to say, for my Yes, Ma'am this week, I wanted to shout out the parents that are openly loving on their queer and trans children. I often see, I wouldn't say often, I because of the work that I do, I have a lot of parents who are hitting people in my org, or literally coming to us and saying, hey, how do I do this for my child? My child is scared, my child is dealing with this, what do we do? And it's just, even when a parent doesn't know what to do, I think it makes my heart feel so good to know that there's a parent out there who's trying, you know, like that there's a parent out there who's like, I don't know the right way to do this thing, and I'm going to ask for help with it. But at least I want my child to know that I actively see that the world is trying to harm them. And I don't want that to happen. So I just really wanted to
Mm.
shout out any parent who is out there. And I say parent, not just in the idea of like you birthing a child. I'm saying, if you have taken in your niece or nephew and you recognize your niece or nephew is trans, and you're raising them, and you're wanting to do what's right for your niece, or whatever that means, anybody who is doing their best to protect and love on their queer children right now and into eternity, right? But I'm saying, in this moment, I want to say, like, I see you and I salute you, and I definitely
Mm.
think you're the reason that
Mm.
you are one of the reasons why I appreciate what I get to do, and what I get to do through my 9 to 5. And for those of you
Mm.
who don't know, I work for a children's organization. In my 9 to 5, when I'm not on the mic, I work for a nonprofit that focuses on queer and trans youth. And so I don't want to say the name because I don't want people coming after the org. But I definitely do want folks to know, like, I see them, and I see the struggle, and I'm definitely there with you. All right. So for my No Man Pam, this is a very simple thing. Um, I've noticed it over the years, but I'm noticing it a lot more now. People who don't walk their dogs with a leash. Can we not? Like, I know there's bigger fish to fry, but my thing is, like, I don't comprehend why is it so hard for you to walk your dog on a leash? Why? Like, and that's the thing. Like, people, oh, he's friendly. Okay, he can be friendly to you, but I don't know that fucking dog. I don't know what he is capable of. And this is spawned from a moment yesterday. So yesterday, as I was getting ready to get into my car, there was a man jogging past where I live, and his dog like ran up on the other side, and I jumped into my car and slammed my door. And as I'm pulling away, he like looks over. He's like, "Yeah, he's cool. He's cool. He's cool." I don't give a damn if you think your dog is cool. I don't know that dog, and he was like a Rottweiler. He wasn't a big one, but he was a Rottweiler. And I'm like, can we not like just put him on a leash? I don't want to have to sue you. I don't want to get bit. But yeah, I just the people who try to, oh, he's a cute dog, and oh, he's sweet. Put your damn dog on a leash. I don't care. I don't care. Please. So that's it. What do you got this week, sis?
Girl.
I just read. That's why I'm laughing.
Girl.
I just saw that. Yes, go ahead.
Hold on real quick. Sorry. Let me pause for a moment. Sorry.
You're fine. Are you getting work stuff too?
No, it's just remember me just told me she tested positive for COVID. So I'm like,
Your roommate? Oh, no.
I mean, but also we knew this might have happened because she was out of town over the weekend and she came back and the person she was with had COVID. So like we've been masked since she got home. But I'm like, oh my poor girl, no. But also like, ooh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Damn.
So she gonna be stuck in that room.
I'm gonna need you to close the door, girl. Okay, I'm gonna need you to close the door. Okay. Well, okay, sorry. Reset. Let me just say, your dogs are not your children. They're not kids. They're dogs. They're animals. They're not kids. So consider that when you have them off leash. And truthfully, it is not legal. And I love the idea of, bending laws, but it's a law that may not be worth bend for you, girl. So just don't do it, bitch. So yeah, just Lord Jesus in heaven. My yes, ma'am. So to the people gagged about Trump's policies and who voted for him. You look so dumb right now.
Yeah.
Like, that's just really, like, y'all got about his policies and you vote for him. That's just what happens. You do clown shit and clown shit happens. So that's it. Now, my no, Mam Pam is, okay, so this is a bit serious. People, this is serious. People, I understand people are posting about what to do if an ice raid happens around you, right? And I get that. I think like information sharing is great. I also want to be mindful, like we still exist in surveillance place, and so I don't think it's so far fetched that people are watching you. So if you're posting about things to say or do, or you're posting things like I won't give my neighbor up for an ice raid, right? That's implying that your neighbor might be documented, and that could lead the ICE to your door. And like, what are you gonna do then when they actually come to your door? So like, I want to be really clear of like, be mindful you post about ICE because you could inadvertently be endangering people around you as well too. Like I don't post anything because like what I'm not gonna do is endanger people that I love at all.
Right.
Like, what I'm not gonna do, like I'm gonna take the information and say work, thank you. But like sometimes the information sharing isn't always the best thing. Send it in a message to somebody. Don't post it on your story, because sometimes that actually could lead to further engagement of other people, especially if you're acknowledging that you may have someone in your life who is a documentary can be impacted by ICE. And then like that I'm not saying that's your fault, but I'm saying it could contribute to like them being discovered. You don't want that. Right. So really be mindful of how you share things. That's really it.
Yeah. No, you are making a really good point. And I think that, I mean, we could do a whole episode on that too about, information sharing. But I think there is this idea of like people wanting to be like, we got to get the information to the people. One of the things that I really appreciated at Creating Change, was there was a in particular, they called it a plenary that they did, and they told people, do not record, do not take information from this and put it on social, do not post any clips, whatever, like, we want this conversation to just be within the doors of creating change. And it was about strategic, it was about all this stuff, like, what is strategy, what is, like, what are we doing collectively to try to make sure that we're protecting our people. And I think we need to do more of that. I think we really need to get to a place where we're actively organizing, and we're not organizing online, because obviously that's what we're giving a lot of, we're losing the plot. Like, we're giving a lot of people a lot of information that they don't necessarily need. And I think it's kind of like,
Yeah.
I have a feeling that I'm going to get a lot of heat on this episode, but I ultimately was saying, like, I believe, like, that's the only way for us to, like, Harriet Tubman didn't tell people where she was going to be and where she was going to go. Could you imagine Harriet Tubman posting a lot? I'm gonna be at this plantation. Like, no, Harriet Tubman moved, she moved in silence, like a G in lasagna. Like, she knew what she was doing. And I think we need to get back to that. We need to get back to the old days. I'm not saying that all of their ways were the right ways, but I personally believe we need to get back to the days of the Black Panther Party. We need to get back to the days of Malcolm X. We need to get back to the days of the organizing in silence, because that's how we're going to make true change. I feel like we're giving away we're giving away too many of the ingredients. We're telling too many people what's in the sauce. We still don't even know all the ingredients in KFC's chicken, and that's for a reason, right? And I think that's what we need to get back to. So, yeah, Joho, you got my mind ruminating. But I definitely wanted to say that on the mic. All right. Well, with that being said, my God, what an episode. Please send us your thoughts, feedback, and emails to blackfatfempod@gmail.com. You can also send us your thoughts via social media by interacting with our posts on Instagram and Blue Sky, and also along the metas. I don't know how long we are going to be on the metas. It's just, what a time. What a time to be alive. I keep saying that every day. Every day I say that at least once. What a time to be alive. Anyway, Queen Joho, where can the dolls find you?
My loves, you can find me at Joho Downs across all socials. You can find me definitely at my local coffee shop, unfortunately. Trying to get a little treatsy poo. You can find me on my website, JordanDaniels.com. If not there, girl, don't find me at all, because I don't come looking. I'm not trying to be found.
That reminds everybody's been saying, hope this email finds you. Well, I hope the email doesn't find me at all.
I hope the email doesn't find you at all, girl. I hope the email doesn't if it finds you, you're somewhere on vacation in the Bahamas, girl. Don't even
make me lost in the Bermuda Triangle or something. My God. Yes. Okay. But as for me and mine, you can find me on the street shucking and jiving and dancing, trying to get people to buy this book, child. Please head over to www.drjohnpaul.com. We are only a couple of days away from my book release. I think we're somewhere in like we're in the 55s, the 56 days of my book release. And so please, if you have not purchased, feel free to head over to my website to buy it. Other than that, you can find me on all the socials, including Blue Sky, at drjohnpaul.blue. Other than that, it's at Dr. John Paul everywhere. All right. With that being said, we want to thank our producers, Bay Wang, for handling all of the logistics that happen around this show. I tell you, there's, there are a lot of moving parts. There are a lot of moving parts. A lot of people at Creating Change was asking me, how do you get into the podcasting world, honey? You got to have a solid plan. So thank you to everybody who keeps us up grooving and moving down to the iHeartMedia. Same thing, Chris Rogers. We want to thank him for being a wonderful editor and literally for just keeping us together these last few weeks. There's been a lot going on, and I'm very grateful to have Chris Rogers as an editor for this show. So thank you. With that being said, this has been another show. Stay black, fat, femme, and fabulous. And remember, what, Joho?
We may not be your cup of tea, but girl, drink some water, because you probably need it anyways, okay?
I know that's right. I love us for real. Until next week. Bye.
Bye.